Hello, my friends. How are you today? Welcome back to another beautiful episode of mine and Sprite's World, number 27. I believe it's number 27. Originally, I was going to record a podcast episode in DC. However, almost every chance that I had, I was just tired. Like, I would just hit the bed and I would fall asleep instantly. I feel like I am at the age where I am just getting tired, and as soon as I hit bed, I'm just down. I'm just like ZZZ. Like, I don't know if this is just part of growing up, if this is just part of aging. I mean, eventually, the more you age, the more tired you get. That's granted. That's going to happen. And it's not like I've been drinking unhealthy stuff or anything the entire trip. I mean, yes and no. The only time I'll drink soda, right, is at dinner. When we would order food or whatever, I would get soda there. But for the most part, I've been drinking Gatorade and water. So, it is what it is. I'm drinking water as is. I just feel like every time I'm in here and I'm either recording or I'm playing with friends, I always have to have water on me. It's just, no matter what, I just feel like it's hydrating, it's refreshing. Always drink your water, kids. Anyways, DC. Yeah, originally wanted to record in DC. I kept falling asleep. I just didn't have the energy. But you know what? That's a good thing. I'll tell you why. Because I was only in DC, not even a week, but like 5 days. But it was a very good 5 days. And I was able to do it with my mom. And I was able to do it with my other half, Kate. And, of course, my son. We all went to DC together, and it was very fun. It was great. We were upgraded to first class in the airplanes, and I recommend that, by the way. So Luke, our child, he's still under the age of 2, and when you have a child that's less than 2 years old, you don't need to buy a separate plane ticket for him or her. So when you're traveling, you can just have that child sitting on your lap as you fly around. So that's what we did. And I absolutely, definitely recommend first class. Most people, our child was not a problem, at least for the most part anyways, right? Flying there, he was definitely like, we were afraid he was going to get an earache. And so he did not get any of that I can tell. He seemed to handle both flights pretty well. They were short. We had 2 flights there, 2 flights back. So we went to Atlanta to DC, DC to Atlanta back home. And both flights were about an hour. It wasn't that bad, or honestly. I could probably... We survived. We could do it again. I'm confident. I don't know why I felt like the airplane ride was going to be longer. I went to DC before 2 years ago, and it felt like the trip from Atlanta to DC was longer. But memory could serve me wrong. I've been on so many flights in my life, so it's hard to keep accordance of what flights take that long. I mean, I know when I went to Vegas, that flight was long. Anyways, DC. So we went through first class with the child, and TSA, going through security, wasn't as complicated as it used to be. You don't have to take off your shoes anymore. They still want you to, take your belt off, empty your pockets, whatever. I'm finally glad I don't have to take off my shoes. So that's a good thing. And they did not overcomplicate. Obviously, we have a stroller because we have a toddler, right? And I'm so glad we had a stroller with us the entire time, because when we were in DC, we were all over the place, right? That's what you do when you visit another city, right? You just want to explore. You want to go out there. You want to visit all the, monuments, the museums, the tourist attractions. You want to go everywhere. So the stroller, especially the one that we have, it's a little inconvenient to drag around. But when you're pushing it, this stroller, it's one of those ones where you need to it's 3 wheels, and it's like tire pump ones, right? It's not the basic small little wheels that are like made out of plastic or whatever. Those are, I don't know. I don't think those are fun to push. But we got ones with small little bicycle tires on them, and it is a smooth ride, especially when you pump the air up. Anyways, sorry if I'm a little tired. But anyways, so it took about all day to get to DC. Our flight from Atlanta to DC was delayed because the day that we went there, the weather was bad in DC. So the plane did not get clearance to be there at all until like 3 hours later, because we got on board when it was time to board. We sat there for probably an hour and 30 minutes, and then all the people on there, the flight attendants, they kicked us off because they let us know there's a delay. And so they're like, great. So we went ahead and grabbed some dinner, because we didn't really eat dinner later that day. So it was basically our dinner. There's a restaurant there in Atlanta. I forgot what it was called. It was like this bar grill kind of place. I had myself a catfish sandwich. It was pretty good. The sandwich was definitely nice. The catfish was fried, and it was sticking out, which is fine by me. The kid was grouchy. Poor Luke, he was definitely not having it at that time, because we were sitting in that airplane for an hour and a half, and we're not doing anything. We're not going anywhere, and it's like when you have a toddler, you kind of have to try your best to compromise when it comes to trying to entertain him and trying to distract him and do all sorts of stuff. And obviously we were prepared for it when we're in the air. We're not prepared when you're just sitting on the plane or even on tarmac for God knows how long. So that part was a little tedious, and the aspect of trying to get him happy, because what toddler's going to be happy just having to be in this little crowded space where mostly everyone's sitting, and you got neighbors around you, right, when you're sitting on an airplane. Again, we had first class, and the plane tickets on both flights when we were going there, we were up front, so I wasn't too worried about that. He had plenty of walking space in front of us, while we were on the ground. I did not let him walk around at all, when we're in the air or anything like that. And again, they're short flights. We basically, went up, and then as soon as we went up, we maintained it for probably 10 minutes, went down. Easy flights. Anyways, flight got delayed, so we didn't get to DC until much later in time. Probably 7 o'clock, somewhere around that time frame. We got there late. We were originally going to be there 5, but I think that's when we just started getting ready to get back on the plane. It was 5:30. That's when I was going to go. I think boarding back was at 5:30. I can't remember. Anyways, got back on the plane 5:30, and that's when we started going, because that's when we finally got clearance to go. We got to the airport. Everything was dandy. Until we previously reserved a ride. Okay, we previously reserved an Uber X. I don't know if it was Uber X. It was this. You can choose what rides you want on Uber when you have the app, right? You go on the app, you click on the destinations you want, and you can choose what kind of Uber fare you want. And so they have all the options, and they even have an option that took me by surprise, that you can have a car seat for toddlers and babies, right? So we didn't know exactly what it would be like traveling with a toddler without a babysitter or anything like that. And originally we were going to play it safe, and we had reserved an Uber to come pick us up that had a car seat. And it was supposed to meet us at the airport. And supposedly, it was able to track our flight. So if our flight got delayed, the driver would know. So I assume that way the driver would be able to do other things, right? Like do another trip for another person or whatever. Nope. What happened was, because our flight got delayed from Atlanta to DC by like 3 hours, our Uber canceled on us, and not many people on Uber drives with a car seat. So we, instead of trying to find one, we went ahead and just got a taxi. When we read on the DC, we Googled it. We read that you can be in a taxi with a toddler and he doesn't need a car seat just for as long as he's on you, like how it was an airplane. So we just did that. We taxied with the toddler on us, and we went to our Airbnb. We didn't do a hotel. It was cheaper to get an Airbnb, and I liked the Airbnb that we stayed at. It was near the Hungarian embassy. There's 2 Hungarian embassies, by the way. There's one that's downtown, that's private, that it doesn't do customer service, and then there's one that's a little off in a neighborhood area. So the one downtown is the one we literally stayed across the street from. So that, I thought that was pretty cool. We stayed in this building that had multiple levels to it. Technically 3rd floor, but when you're looking at the building, we were on the 2nd floor. I can't tell you what exact floor we were on, because it has like, you get the 1st floor, right? And when you're looking at the 1st floor, it's typically, what's on the ground, but they have it where there's also steps downward, so they have one kind of underneath the ground. So if you're looking at that standpoint, where like the one on the bottom is 1st floor, then we're on the 3rd floor. Anyways, Airbnb was nice. The only complaint I had about the Airbnb was, obviously, I wouldn't say obviously, originally it was a home that was all floors together. And I guess the company that had bought the building, they separated the floors, so that way each floor is its own, room for people to rent. And that's fine. The only complaint I had was we had 2 rooms, 2 bathrooms. It was a good Airbnb. It's just people above us. It wasn't bad the first half, but the second half, when the people above us were starting to come in, they were heavy-footed or something. They just stomp. You can hear it all night. And it seemed like they just didn't really do anything. It seemed like they just kind of stayed there even during the day. It's like, what are you guys doing up there? Anyways, sorry if I'm slurring, sorry if I'm tired, sorry if I'm doing all this and that. I'm just trying to recollect my memory from DC and tell it accurately. Anyways, the first day when we got there, it was getting late. We didn't go out and eat or anything. We just kind of went to Whole Foods. That was kind of around the corner. Picked up some food for the week, milk, berries, essentially more so toddler needs, but also some stuff for us. But toddler comes first with a lot of things, so we got a good essentials for him. So we got home, Airbnb, and we just kind of relaxed. We chilled. It was a long day at the airport. It was a long day for everyone involved. And then finally, we all went to bed. I'm about to sneeze here. Holy moly. Holy guacamole. It's that sneeze that's coming up to you, but you don't know if you're going to be able to prevent it or not. Oy, oy, oy. I'm okay. I promise I'm okay. I'm okay. Deep thoughts. Deep thoughts. Ugh. Anyways. So, the next day, and now I gotta recollect my thoughts here. The next day, we didn't really have anything planned. We just kind of went out and about. We kind of just wanted to have that day where we're just walking around and whatever comes at us, comes at us. So the first day, we checked out the White House. No one was protesting or anything. There wasn't anything too crazy on our walk there. So I was able to go to the White House and see that. We didn't see the president or anything. It was actually kind of nice. It wasn't overly crowded like I thought it would be. It was just simple. I think it was because it was weekday. We got there on Wednesday, so this was Thursday. So yeah, nothing extraordinary happened other than just us walking around that day. So we walked to the White House, and then we went to go visit the Smithsonian, was it American History Museum? And when we got there were so many fire trucks and ambulances and cop cars around there. We had no idea what was happening as we were getting closer. That was originally going to be our first stop, was to check out the American History Museum, and they were closed for the day because of what happened. And what happened was they have an underground parking garage, and I don't know what brand of the car it was, but this car, its battery had caught on fire. I don't know how, don't know what make or model of this car was. I just know that it had caught on fire, and it kind of just closed the entire building up for the day. Understandable, but you would think with the amount of fire trucks that we saw, the amount of ambulances, the amount of cop cars, news stations were there too. We were walking up to a cameraman. We didn't get asked by anything, but I thought I would be on the news. We were not. We checked later that night. We were not on the news. But you would think like something major had happened. Nope. It was just a car battery that got on fire. It's still something serious, right? But like to a degree, like so many people from the city that works at the city were there. It's just like you would have thought that something else had happened. So we scratched that, continued walking, and tried to do other museum stuff, and we walked around. We also wanted to do that day the oh gosh, what is it called? The museum that has a bunch of airplanes in it. Oh gosh. Essentially airplane museum. We wanted to check that out, but when we got there, the lines were just extraordinarily long. We did go to a museum. I'm trying to remember what it was that we went to. My memory's a blur right now because I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I regret nothing. Oh gosh, what was it? I'm sure I have pictures. So maybe this will help refresh my memory. I don't think I have pictures of everything, but this will definitely help serve my memory because I need it, especially right now. I feel like even my voice feels different. It sounds different. Refresh my memory. Let's see. Okay. Yep, I remember. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember the museum we had went to, and it was near the American History Museum. I don't think I have a feature that lets me know where this was taken. All I know is this was taken Thursday at 11:15 in the morning. Maybe if I search it up. Don't mind me. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I had written this down. I wish I had taken notes before I started recording. Not that many people are probably listening, but that's okay. Washington, D.C. Dinosaur. Yes, dinosaur. That'll make sense soon. Dinosaur Museum. Alrighty, so we had went to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. That's where we had went to. and they got some pretty cool stuff over there. And I do recommend going to museums in DC, mainly because 90% of them are free, and you can just kind of walk into them. And that's what we did. We just kind of walked into random museums, and yeah, no. Oh, it's yeah. So we went there and we spent a good couple of hours. They had all sorts of interesting stuff. I felt like that museum was overly crowded. In DC, I mean, I'm not a fan of being in crowds. I get a little claustrophobic when I'm in big amount of groups and crowds, so I typically stay away from that kind of stuff. I don't like being stuck in a particular place or spot that's overly crowded. I like having my bubble and I like to breathe. So I don't know how people do it. I don't know where they get it from. I guess they're just used to it being in a cluster. Not me, not this guy. Don't get me wrong. I've been to not museums, but places that are overly crowded, right? I'm okay with that. I'm okay when it makes sense. I'm okay when you're at a concert. You're going to expect people, right? When you're at a wrestling event like I go to, you're expecting many people. When I'm at a museum trying to mind my own business, trying to look at things that I've never seen before, learn something new, look at different things, right? The cluster of people is phenomenal. And they're just okay being invading people's personal bubbles. Like, I'm not okay with that. Like, I'm just trying to get by. And for whatever reason, there's a portion in this museum that's about rocks and jewels and stuff like that. And there's just a huge, huge cluster around that area. And I just couldn't do it. Luckily, that was like the final area that we went through in that specific museum. And I was just like, I'm getting tired of it. So luckily, after that, we had exited the museum. But like, to me it feels like it just ruins the experience when there's just so many people in one museum and you're having a hard time just reading through labels, just trying to figure what this object that you're staring at through glass is, just trying to learn. So that kind of ruined the experience, but that's okay because again, it's free. It's DC, it's educational. There's so many people coming by. There's so many people that are visiting, not just us. There's so many, school trips going on almost every week. It doesn't matter if school started. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the school year. It doesn't matter if school ended. It doesn't matter if school's even off season. There's some sort of program out there for schools, for students of such to come into the DC area to do this and that. I've given up on such. I expected now all sorts of students to come out of nowhere and invade museums. Anyways, so after that, that's when we tried to check the Air and Space Museum. Is that what it's called? Don't quote me on it. Again, when we got there, that museum, we looked at it. It was crowded. It was like there was long lines on both sides of the entrances. We said no thank you, so we happily waited in front of the park in front of that area, and we kind of just let my son kind of do his own thing. He was napping. We were resting. We were taking it easy. Again, we were just walking around doing whatever. And then after that, we decided to take a scroll through and walk towards the Capitol. That was nice. There was a flower exhibit. I forgot what it was called near the Capitol. There's a part of the area that had. It was free to walk it through. Open, no security, no nothing. It was just a little exhibit museum that had a bunch of flowers and hibiscuses, and I probably said that wrong, and all sorts of different like floral plants, right? So that was pretty nice. I'm sure you can Google it on your own and find out the name of it if you really care. After that, we had went to the Library of Congress, and I've never been in that building, and it feels like it's cool to check out. but we have not like actually seen 90% of the building. We've probably seen maybe 20%, 25% of the building, because there's an actual use to that building, and it's off limits to just random visitors. Like, there's an actual use to it. I don't know, because when we were there, I didn't know it was there until I Googled it, and I just like, hey guys, why don't we visit the Library of Congress? So, we went there, and it wasn't as crowded. You couldn't just walk in all nilly willy. You had to go on their website and schedule a time frame to go inside. And when we did, they had time slots like every 15 minutes that you could just click on. So it kind of defeated the point of it. Like, maybe it's there for crowd control in case it gets too crowded. That's fine. But I don't know. I just thought that was just so random. Anyways, so I went in there, and it was nice to visit through. I thought it was cool. After that, that's when we went ahead and decided to just go back and figure out dinner. It was about like 3-4 o'clock time frame, so it was that time to start getting ready and go back. And we walked a lot from where we were at to the other side of the Capitol building. Ugh. So we went ahead and got on a bus to get back. What did we have dinner? What was dinner? I believe it was Thai food. So there's this Thai place that I originally wanted to go to, but it was closed. And what they had was fried chicken cashew. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was cashew chicken, but the chicken was fried and had I can't remember if it was like sweet and sour sauce or whatever it was, but it was delicious. That was 2 years ago, and of course, now that we're back in 2025, I search up this Thai restaurant, and it's closed. So we tried a different Thai restaurant, and I tried their cashew chicken. It was good. It was different. It wasn't the one I had 2 years ago, but I did enjoy it. I ate it all. I gave it a 8 out of 10 or something. I don't know. And we just kind of picked up some more essentials from CVS, because CVS was conveniently next to Whole Foods, and Whole Foods was right around the corner of the Airbnb. So we just picked up that and called it a day. In comes Friday. Friday we went to the Hungarian embassy, not the one that's we're across the street, but we did take pictures in front of there. No, we went to the one that's out of reach in the neighborhood. We took a taxi to it. Afterwards, we got back to the Airbnb. We went to a restaurant that is called Johnny Rockets, I believe. It's right next to Holiday Inn, or it's part of Holiday Inn. The hotel was literally near us, across the street from Hungarian Embassy as well, the one downtown. And so we went there, we ate lunch, then we just went to the Airbnb, we relaxed for a good couple of hours, tried to take a nap. And then it was time to get ready. We went to Once Upon a Con, and this was their first time doing this sort of convention, but we were only there for the gala part, the masquerade part, the part where we're dancing and all that. It was not what I expected, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty cool. This was Kate's idea. This is what she wanted to do. And Once Upon a Con, it was basically a fairy tale convention. Very old school style with a fantasy twist to it. And everyone dressed up. It was pretty good. And it took place at a hotel. Oh God, the Gaylord, Gaylord. It makes me want to say it the other way around. But when we went to the Gaylord Resort Hotel, whatever you want to call it, beautiful hotel, by the way. I would show pictures if I could, but some of you guys are just here to listen, so it defeats the purpose of showing pictures. But basically, just Google it, and it's got this beautiful. It's a huge hotel resort, by the way. It's got this huge indoor area where it feels like you're outside, but you're inside. And it's got restaurants, it's got little shops, just all sorts of cool things there. So when we got there, I'm like, man, this is huge. Like, you just walk in through the entrance of this hotel, and it's like, you're not immediately into the check-in or anything like that. No, it's just this big, open-spaced corridor, hallway, very wide-spaced, to that main area that I was just describing about. And it's the type of place that does a bunch of, I guess, stuff. They have multiple ballrooms and multiple different areas for different events. So I guess it was hosting Once Upon a Con. And it's a convention for fairy tales and fairy tale books and stuff like that. So they held things throughout the day. We just didn't go to that part. We only had tickets for the end of the event, for the dancing part, the gala. We dressed up in accordance. We weren't like totally pimped out or dressed out. We didn't have like masks that were totally out there or anything like that. We were basically basic dressed. And that's okay, because we just wanted to dance, and that's what we did. Except when we got there, it was a little confusing at first, because the ticket said at 8 o'clock in the evening is when, the event would start. But when we got there, it's 8 o'clock. We got there on time. Or was it 7 o'clock? Whatever. It was late either way. We got there, and they told us that we needed to get these we needed to get checked in. We needed to get these little printed tickets of sorts. And I don't know, I was just very confused. This was their first time doing this Once Upon a Con, by the way. So there's going to be a lot of mix-up. There's going to be a lot of, things, learning curves to experience for the event planners themselves. And we got there. We didn't know that we needed to register. We didn't know we needed to check in. We didn't know we needed these things printed out. So when we got there, we spoke to a lady that worked there, and she pretty much helped us out, because she asked if we had a Discord, because if you had their Discord, they basically explain the process of what was expected. We don't have Discord. We didn't do that. We just kind of came in there all nilly-willy, expecting just to go into this ballroom. No, but it was a little more complicated than it needed to be, but that's okay. And they had separate tickets, so you could either buy a ticket for the entire event, or you can just buy a ticket to go to the ballroom, the gala, the masquerade. And that's what we did. We didn't care for the event. We just went there for the gala. And it wasn't hard to go through. It wasn't hard to figure out. They let us in easily. But the lady there helped us out. She let the security know that, hey, they're here. They didn't get checked in this morning. It's a little too late for that now, but they paid, so let them in. And that's what we did. We went in, and it was pretty interesting. We danced, and then they had a rave party. Now, I've never really gone to a rave party, but they had a rave party from, what was it, 12 to 2? 11 to 2? Somewhere around there. So we raved for an hour, and then I was tired. I was pretty ready to go home. And it was not what I expected it to be. I didn't know what to expect, though. I try to keep an open mind, but when I'm thinking masquerade, I'm thinking like the ballroom, thinking about slow dances and stuff like that. We didn't do too much of that. And they didn't really do that kind of music either, that you would just expect a bunch of people to basically dance with each other. No, it was a little more different. Anyway, so that was that. Got home late, and just kind of, I slept easily. I slept quickly. Didn't get into bed until 2, but I slept. And I slept every night. I wanted to record a podcast, but again, I couldn't. Anyways, so I slept very quickly, and it comes Saturday. Saturday, what did we do? We did stuff on Saturday. We did stuff every day of the week, and I was happy about that. Let's pull up my little cheat sheet here. Was it Saturday or Sunday that we went to the zoo? Let's look at the details. This was Saturday. Okay, yeah. So Saturday, all we did was we went to the zoo in Washington, D.C. And this was... I have not gone to any other zoo other than the one that we have here, so I didn't know what to expect when we went to the DC zoo. But I wanted to check out the zoo for Luke. And, little toddlers, it's good to have them go out and see different things and look at different animals. And he's learning. He's learning different animals and different noises that they make and stuff like that. He knows what an elephant makes, and I don't know. They also have animals there that we don't have here, like pandas. So I don't think I've ever seen a panda. So that's what we did, is we went to go see a panda, and the panda exhibit was interesting. So they have an outdoor area for all pandas, but obviously it's summertime, so it's hot. So they have an indoor exhibit for the pandas, and there's only 2 pandas at the time when we went in. So before we got into the exhibit, they had a huge line. There was crowd control, but there wasn't. So you had to wait in line to get into the exhibit of the pandas. But when you got inside, they try to rush you, right? They try to rush you and tell you to keep moving along, just like you're in there, do what you need to do. They give you a minute, and then they tell you to continue going. Problem was, there's 2 bits to this panda exhibit. You get the first half and the second half. First half, it's like there's one panda, and people are taking pictures or whatever, but they tell you to keep moving. So you go to the second half, but when you get to the second half, everyone is not moving whatsoever. This is the part where it's everyone's just at the rail, just trying to take pictures of the panda, just taking 5-10 minutes just to take a picture of the panda. And it's no one's moving whatsoever, and it's I don't know. That's just people are being told to move, but they're not moving, and no one's doing anything about it. So everyone's just kind of stuck there. I saw the pandas. I took the picture. I left. I didn't need. Again, this is the part where it's I don't care for crowds. I'm just gonna continue going. That's what I did. I continued going. Anyways, we spent the entire day at the zoo. That was fun. I believe we had sushi later that day, so that was delicious. I think it was sushi. It was either that day or the day after on Sunday. I can't remember. Monday was when we left. But anyways, I had fun. Oh, and the fun little experience later that day on Saturday. The building across the street from us, not the Hungarian embassy, but there is an actual apartment building complex there. Multiple levels and multiple, apartment rooms and whatnot. I don't know what happened, but I guess someone must have caught something on fire on the top floor, because there was 3 fire trucks that got there, and so when that happens, it's oh, something serious is happening. They brought out a fire truck with a ladder that extends all the way to the top, but they did not use the ladder. No, they just kind of went through the building, and once they had calmed the situation down, it didn't seem all that serious, but they stayed there for an hour. I thought that was pretty cool, seeing a fire action up close. Anyways, and then Sunday, that's when we went to the Air and Space Museum. It was all right. Very crowded inside though. Holy moly! Again, this is why I'm complaining a lot about crowd spaces, specifically that museum. Oh my goodness! It's just crazy. Air and Space Museum. I don't know what it was up about that museum. Everyone had to be there. This was the museum, and this explains why there's long lines outside of the building. So you had to pick an hourly time frame. So it starts from 10 a.m., 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. And so you pick your time frame of when you're going to want to go in. 10 o'clock was sold out, so we selected 11 o'clock. When we got there, it was like a couple minutes before 11, so we got there on time. But the lines were just so huge there for me. It was going around the building. And by the time we finally got inside the building, oh my goodness, it was already packed. I went there 2 years ago, and I don't recall the time frame, and I don't recall it being that packed. But holy guacamole, I did not want to be in that building as long as we did. I mean, I was okay with it because I liked everything that was in there. I liked having to see all the things that are in there about airplanes, about space, they even had some Star Wars stuff. It was kind of sad to see the Master Chief helmet behind glass, but this was a bit of the museum where it was like talking about the future. Anyways, it was very crowded in there, but it was one of those interactive museums for my son Luke to kind of go through as well and experience. So I was happy for that for him. There's a little, kid area for him to be at and to just mess with things. So that was probably the shortest amount of time we spent inside a museum, just because of how overwhelming it was in there. And again, that's fine. It's just not for me. So we got out of there, and then we also went to, where did we go? I know we went somewhere else. After that, we had went to the art museum, not the American art history museum or anything like that. Nope, just the Smithsonian Art Museum, and I think this was American art. I don't know. Smithsonian American Art History. I don't know. I was just looking up random museums and things to do. It's next to the Capital One Arena, and I've never been to the Capital One Arena, but to see that was pretty cool. We went there. They have a nice little cafe indoor area, by the way. Like they have I don't know what you would want to call it. I don't know. It just seemed very European-esque, but other than that, I liked it for the most part. The first 2 floors were like 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. But when you got to the 3rd and 4th level, that's when things started to get modernized, right? And today's art is very questionable if you can even consider it art. Like, I'm looking at the first 2 floors of these artworks, and it's like, so old, but also so respectable and so, great. Like, you could see a good amount of time that was put into this painting, right? Then you got to today's art, and it just seemed pathetic almost. It seemed like that art wasn't good art. It just seemed like that art it couldn't compare to art back in the day. It's such a boomer thing to say, right? Such a boomer thing to say. But I'm not wrong, though. Like, you see all this impressive artwork in the first 2 floors, and you go up to the 3rd and 4th floor. It's like, this is today's art, huh? Where have we gone wrong? And I'm not trying to downplay on some of the art that's there. I'm just saying, like, some of those things that you're looking at, it's just you just kind of look at it, question it. Like, we're looking at a painting with a couple of stripes and a corner of it, right? We're saying this deserves a spot in this building. Just a big canvas with a couple of stripes on the corner of the canvas, and that's it. Art. What you're just staring at, like, how did this get here? Why? And the weird thing is, people would pay money for it too. Like, if you're just a popular artist, like, you can just pull something out of your region area, make a buttload of money out of it, just because of the name, just because you put paint on a canvas, because it was you that did it. And we call that art. So that it's just, not for me. Really like this water that I'm having here. Anyways, and then obviously Mondays when we start to get home. Flights on Monday, they were only like delayed by an hour, both flights. It was kind of convenient because our first flight from DC to Atlanta was delayed, and I was like, well, I hope that doesn't screw with the second flight home. But the second flight was also delayed as much as the first one was, so it was actually perfect timing for everything and everyone. Because I was afraid that we would get to Atlanta and then immediately jump onto the next. Nope, it was all good, all peachy, all fine. Anyways, DC was interesting. DC was fun. I recommend going to DC at least once. You don't have to experience it, whenever, every day or every year or whatever. But it's one of those things where it's like, the White House is never going anywhere. A lot of these monuments and buildings and stuff, they're not going anywhere. So I would definitely recommend at least seeing it once in your life, especially if you're an American. You get to learn a lot. You get to be more aware of the culture around you and be more understanding, right? You get to learn a lot about your American history. You really get to see different things. Like, I don't know. It's also a huge city. Where I live, we don't live in a city. I live basically away from the city. So when you go to a city, it's a different culture, different experience, different life going on there. Essentially, USA is such a big land, right? Like, you look at Europe and then you look at USA. USA is bigger than Europe. USA is bigger than a lot of countries that are just merged together over there. So when you look at that aspect, you got to think there's like different parts of America is different culture and different way of living. Like how some people call soda pop or cola, Coke, pop, soda, stuff like that, or how there's different accents to the English language. You got your Boston accent, your New York accent, your country accent. You got a different accent, Southern accent, whatever you want to call it, right? You got your Californian accent. Like, different parts of this country, again, we're so big. Like, it's just different cultures everywhere. So you got to keep an open mind of that. Anyways, as you can see, I'm just kind of resting on my desk now because of how tired I am. So I'm probably just going to rest. And you should probably rest too. If you've been listening to me ramble and talk and mumble, well, I commend you. I am happy that you're here with me, experiencing this beautiful journey with me. I thank you for listening. I thank you for whatever you do in life. I will see you guys next week. I will be here, as I hope you will be too. Not just like watching my videos, but like in life. I hope you're here in life, right? I hope nothing bad happens to you. Anyways, if you like this video, like, comment, rate, subscribe, do whatever you do on YouTube. I will see you guys next week. But for now, go to bed.